Honorable, right there, so.
I'm obliged to you, Your Honor. Must be something of a record that a matter as important as this is introduced in less than 5 minutes. Must be something of a record. And I repeat, it must be something of a record. It must be something of a record. Don't tell me don't shout.
Honorable member, with the greatest respect, there is no need to shout.
I speak like this, sir.
Honorable member, when I speak, you listen. There's no need to shout to get over your points. This is a chamber of civility, and civility is the hallmark of this chamber, and it must permeate through this chamber from all honorable members when they speak. Continue, honorable member.
I'm obliged to you, sir. I repeat, it must be something of a record that a matter relating to the land of this country, the precious land of this country, we don't have a lot of it, and the acquisition of that land and the transfer of the use of that land in a country like this is introduced to this chamber.
Honorable, please continue. Please continue. Do not be sidetracked or prevented from making your contribution. I rule on those things. Continue, honorable member.
The rules require that when one member is speaking, the other members remain silent. And if during the course of my speech, I hear another member speaking, I will take my seat on the assumption that he intends to make a point of order. And it is probably best and appropriate that he takes the action that he now does. With the 2 interruptions, I repeat, for the sake of the people of this country who must know what is going on in this country, even if they don't know what is going on presently, that a resolution such as this, for the transfer of precious agricultural land in this 166 square miles, is introduced to this chamber and to the people of this country in a presentation lasting less than 5 minutes. And rushing through, I don't know what was the hope. No pun intended. I don't know what was the hope. No pun intended. I'm hearing this voice all the time. I'm hearing a voice. I'm hearing a voice. Your Honor, please invoke the rules of this House that when I am speaking, if there is any protest, let that protest express itself as a point of order. If it is side talk intended to distract me, please control them, Your Honor.
Honorable member, I rule this place.
I'm aware of that.
I run this chamber. No one can tell me how to run this chamber. I run this chamber. I am the person solely entitled and responsible for enforcing standing orders in this honorable chamber. No one else, not even you, not even the Prime Minister, not even the leader of government business. I am the sole authority vested with that authority. Continue.
And it is precisely for that reason, Your Honor, that hearing voices competing with mine, I turn to the Honorable Chair for a ruling that when I am speaking in here, as is my right, I will speak in silence.
Honorable Member, I determined that, not you. With great respect to you, I determined that, not you. Honorable Member for Christchurch South.
And I'm asking this Honorable Chair to make a determination and a ruling that when I am speaking in here, I will speak in silence. That is why I address the matter to Your Honor. That when any member is on his feet, the other members must, it is not an option, must remain silent. That's the rules. Those are the standing orders. I proceed, sir. In this 166 square miles, a government comes here to announce the transfer of the use of lands that were formerly agricultural lands for housing. I heard that in 2016, it was acquired by a previous government. They didn't think that, I heard. These short speeches don't ambush me. That it was acquired in 2016 by a previous government. If that is said by way of an excuse for what this government is proposing to do to agricultural lands in this country, it is not an excuse that the people of this country are now forced to accept. And if one wants to dwell or deliberate on the reason at the time as being that of building a school, I say to the people of this country that there's far greater honor and nobility in building schools than in building projects.
I member for Christchurch West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to join this debate.
Your Honor, I sat because I was being interrupted again. The Honourable Member for St. George South interrupted me.
Honourable Member for Christchurch South, please sit. Honourable Member for Christchurch South, please sit.
I want Mr. Speaker to support the resolution. I am in full support of what the Honourable Member for St. George South has presented. It is absolutely in keeping with the government's intention to be able to provide housing. Now, I accept that the previous administration
is this a point of order?
has bought.
Honourable Member, please sit.
Is this a point of order, sir?
The previous administration acquired this land, and at that time it was to be for schools. However, as a caring and important government, we recognized that as the Ministry of Education at that time was not going forward to do any...
Honourable Member.
Yes.
The
Honourable Member took a seat, so he obviously...
No, Honourable Member. Honourable Member, Honourable Member, if you raise on your point of order. That is all you raise. You do not raise to give a speech. You can only raise if it's a point of elucidation, etc. You cannot raise in this chamber to deliver a speech, because you have not addressed the chamber that you were raising on your point of order. You will so have to do.
Interrupted me. Everybody heard him.
No, but he didn't finish. Continue, Honourable Member, raise yourself.
3, 6, 8, 11. Your Honor, I was mid-sentence in saying that it can be no excuse by which this government can benefit in telling the people of this country that the land was previously acquired in 2016 by the former government. And I was about to make the point when I was interrupted that there's no greater honor in a country with this country's peculiar history of building a school. And I was about to make the further point that housing in this country is now subject to such questionable practice that the people are entitled to make further inquiry into the nature and the practice of housing developments that are being conducted by this government. And coming up on a year ago, the head of this government promised the people of this country that there would be an investigation into a matter of housing that came in the name of hope. The people of this country have lost hope and confidence that this government will ever pursue any project related to housing unless that project, that Lancaster project, that whole project that cost the taxpayers of this country $60 million, and this government is yet to explain where that money has gone. This government is yet to explain to the people of this country what is the per unit cost of those few houses at Lancaster that were built for the sum, presumably, of $60 million. So that when I say scandal and doubt attaches to government's housing projects, I say that on the basis of the evidence that has been presented here and elsewhere. And I remind this government and you, Mr. Speaker, that an investigation was promised to the people of this country by no less than the Honorable Prime Minister. And at the risk of repeating myself from past occasions, I will remind this chamber and the people of this country that I did not wait on that investigation, but that I referred the matter of Hope Government's housing project to the Public Accounts Committee. We know the history of that. I will speak on it at another time. Housing in this country, under the sponsorship of government, has reached scandalous proportion. The people of this country no longer trust the government in any housing initiative. They have to come, the government has to come and explain to the people of this country what has been the destiny of the Hope Housing Project at Lancaster. And I said it previously and I'm going to say it again.
Continue, remember.
Your word, when you opened this place last week, Your Honor, was civility. I heard it again today. I heard it again today, and I intend to abide by what you say. And I want you, sir, to apply that injunction equally in here. That is a demand that I'm making. And I will not be interrupted. It is your ruling, sir. But it is my right. You hear them again? You hear them again? The level playing field, man. Because you walking about this country leveling playing fields. You hear him? You hear him, sir?
Honorable member, please.
You hear him? Yeah,
Honorable member,
yeah.
please
Talk
allow,
to him.
please
Talk
allow
to him.
the honorable member for Christchurch South to speak.
Thank you, sir. This is a signal moment. This is a signal moment, and I want the honorable member is discomfited because he knows what I'm about to say to the people of Barbados, and nobody's going to stop me from saying it.
Honorable member, there is a microphone which is turned on when honorable members speak. There is a microphone.
Mine is on, sir.
No, please let me finish. And there is no need to shout in the microphone to get your point across to the entire Barbadian population. So there's no need. There's no need to shout. There's no need to shout.
I'm obliged to you, sir. I'm obliged to you. The honorable member for St. George South can continue to be discomfited when I tell the people of this country that this government spent $60 million on Lancaster. And up to today, there are still carpenters down there being paid $3,000 a week to complete the project. I don't have to shout that. It's a shame. It is a scandal. It is a matter of public funds being unaccounted for. It is a matter of taxpayers' money having disappeared. You heard him, sir? You heard him? I lowered my voice and they're still frightened.
Honorable member, you are acquainted that you can exercise and exhibit judicial deafness. You know that term from law that oftentimes you can exhibit judicial deafness. Exhibit judicial deafness.
I have young ears. They're working well. And everything the honorable member for St. George South says and the honorable member for St. Lucie, everything he says, I hear it. And it interrupts me. But it doesn't stop me. It doesn't stop me from saying that this government has not accounted to the people of Barbados for the expenditure of $60 million. And let the people of Barbados hear that after the expenditure of $60 million 2 years ago, that there are still workmen while I speak at Lancaster trying to get the project finished to save government embarrassment. $3,000 a week. I don't know where it is coming from. I don't know where those additional funds are coming from. So that when the honorable member comes here this morning, in record time, never heard such a short speech. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. You heard him again? You heard him again, sir? Lord have mercy. Why what happened? Honorable members, keep quiet. Relax, honorable members. The people of Barbados need to hear. The people of Barbados want to hear the truth. And if they don't hear it in certain places, let them hear it in this place. And I repeat that the Ministry of Housing, having crawled back to the National Housing Corporation, is now paying carpenters and general workmen the amount of $3,000 a week to finish the scandalous Hope housing project at Lancaster. Let the people hear that. And let the people always remember and be reminded that $60 million was spent at Lancaster, presumably. Man, I have never made a speech in which I have had this chorus of resistance. You know, I don't intend to sit down unless you order me so to do, and I'm not in breach of any rule. So whenever they shout, whenever they interrupt me, sir, I will pause. I will pause. You hear them? A chorus of resistance to the truth. The people hearing y'all here? The people are hearing y'all. The people are hearing y'all. You hear the other one? Not you. I press on, sir.
Honorable member, please don't refer to members in this chamber as another one. Can't.
The honorable members.
That's disrespectful.
No, I was quoting what
But you
one
can't say
said.
another one.
He said not you.
Honorable member, and you know better. You know better than that.
I was saying to this honorable chamber that the people are hearing them. And one honorable member shouted across and said, not you. I was quoting him. And I do that because I want the people in Barbados. You see, YouTube focuses only on the speaker, but I want the people of Barbados to be aware of the behavior that I am met with in here today, simply because I am telling the truth about government's impropriety in relation to the spending of taxpayers' money. Keep shouting, members. Keep shouting. Keep trying to shout me down. No, I will not still my voice. I have too much to claim. That is a poem written by Martin Carter. It's called Looking at Your Hands. And the last lines, I do not sleep to dream, but dream to change the world. You hear them? You hear them, sir? Man, they're having a ball. They had a ball with the $60 million. And because I'm telling the Barbadian people, here and in the diaspora, that this government has not accounted properly for $60 million, they're trying to shout me down. I will resist. The people of Barbados, I am their representative voice in here, and I say, and I quote Martin Carter, no, I will not still my voice. I have too much to claim. And so if you see me looking at your hands, marching in your ranks, coming to your house, you must know I do not sleep to dream, but dream to change this world, this corrupt country, under this government's management. Looking at your hands. That is the name of the poem. Go home and read it. Go home and read it. I've introduced
With all due
you. Go
respect,
home and read
Mr.
it.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I cannot sit here. On a point of order, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member just referred to this government as a corrupt government, Mr. Speaker. I cannot sit in this chamber, this august chamber. He has no evidence to support such. Make him withdraw that statement, Mr. I am asking, Mr. Speaker, respectfully, that the honourable member for Christchurch South withdraws that comment that this government is a corrupt government. There's no evidence to suggest such. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, there's tremendous evidence to suggest that the party that he leads has placed this government in the mire. I will use the word corruption as a result of bad financial practices. And with those words, Mr. Speaker, I take my seat.
I drank some water. I recommend water for those whose souls and spirits and consciences are now wounded by these allegations. And I am going to repeat, $60 million later, the Ministry of Housing still has carpenters at Lancaster trying to save this government from further embarrassment. And I took this matter to the Public Accounts Committee. And if I'm allowed to say it, I will. That certain persons came to that committee and tried to hinder the work of that committee. When as chairman of the committee, I gave an instruction that we were proposing an investigation into the whole matter. And this government hindered that work. And your Prime Minister, your Honorable Prime Minister, said at the end of the budget debate last year that she too was interested in an investigation. The people heard it, the people know it, the people remember it, the people understand the significance of it. Don't try to shout me down. You had your 2-minute speech. Give me my 102-minute speech. And if you want me to have some mercy, I would reduce the minutes from 102. If you want mercy,
Honourable Member, please address the chamber. I'm not the Honourable Member, please address the chamber and not the Honourable Member for St. George South. That is not what it's about. You are to address the chamber. And you're complaining of being sidetracked, but yet you're addressing them. Please, do not be distracted. Continue.
as it pleases your honor. If he wants mercy, he made a 2-minute, the honorable member, I beg your pardon. The honorable member made a record 2-minute speech. And if he wants, and if the honorable member wants me to reduce the time for the sake of consciences, for the sake of saving this government from public exposure, I am willing to do that for him. I don't hear any asides begging for mercy, so I will press on. I will press on. The people of Barbados want to know who really is the agent in these projects. The people of Barbados discovered last year that a company describing itself as not a sexy language, this government is the leading producer of sexy language in this country. A public-private sector partnership. Oh, how beautiful, how sexy, how sweet to the ears. A public-private sector partnership. But you know, sir, when you remove the corporate veil, and they will not interrupt me now because I'm talking law, and I'm talking law to a speaker who is a good lawyer. And when you remove the corporate veil from Hope, you, sir, will discover that Hope is not any private company. You will discover, sir, that Hope, having removed the corporate veil, its actors are persons directly connected to this government. So don't try to fool the people of Barbados that hope that there is some arrangement between the government and some private sector entity. Hope is as government as the central public service, in a practical sense. Don't incorporate companies to fool people that there is some private individual or private individuals out there willing to enter into some partnership with government. That's not so. These are actors directly connected with this government. So in spite of the pleas for mercy, I will continue to expose things. And when I heard the beginning of the speech, the 2-minute speech, 2 minutes, significant, I wouldn't embarrass him any further. But he is now the 2-minute man. He's now the 2-minute man. A speech, and you see the problem is he believes I didn't hear. 18 acres. 18 acres of the patrimony of this country, 18 acres. And all the honorable member can do, sir, is to explain to the people of this country the destiny of 18 acres of agricultural land in 2 minutes. ministerial minutes, 2 parliamentary minutes. But it is ironic because that honorable member has distinguished himself not only as a 2-minute minister, but he, a few years ago, declared to the whole world that he is coming to level playing fields. It is an infamous speech. And I would have thought that they would have saved him the embarrassment of ever having any portfolio that deals with fields, playing, or agricultural. But he, the honorable member, has come here today to level an agricultural field. And I'm going to say this for the benefit of investors in house building. This government wants to come in here and give the impression that their house building program is noble. It is noble to house people. That is noble. But I want to suggest to the people of this country that these enterprises have less to do with housing people and more to do with enfranchising others, a minority of persons who benefit financially from these projects. This government is not interested in housing anybody. This government is interested in furnishing houses of wealth with larger sums of wealth. And that is what these housing projects are about, with all due respect. Let the truth reveal itself in its naked beauty or ugliness, as the case may be. But it cannot be a beautiful thing when this government tells the people of Barbados that they're building houses for low-income people, and not one low-income person can afford the price of the house when the project finishes. Challenge me on that, honorable members. Name one low-income person, you like objecting, name one low-income person, Your Honor, who has benefited from government's trust in projects of this nature. We like to have honest debate. We like to have honest debate. Honorable member, relax yourself, man. Relax yourself, honorable member. Relax. You did your 2 minutes. Let me do my truthful minutes. And it will be more than 2. And it has been more than 2. I say, sir, that there is a national dishonor in removing lands from agriculture in this environment. Don't tell me about 2016. If you focus on 2016, you have to admit that the government's noble enterprise at that time was to build a school. On this occasion, it is to enfranchise those who are already well enfranchised. And do not tell the people of Barbados that these housing projects are designed for any poor people. They are not. They are not. All kinds of fancy promises are made when these housing projects are being planned. And all the pretty brochures, oh, you will live in this beautiful place and the price will be cheap. And when it is finished, the price is way beyond that, even of the lower middle in this country. Not for any poor people. Stop fooling the poor people in this country. Stop fooling them. Stop fooling them that it has ever been this government's purpose to house them. Never been this government's purpose. I said, and I will repeat for the sake of clarity, that these housing projects have less to do with the noble enterprise of housing the poor and more to do with the ignoble purpose of enfranchising those who are rich. You know, I have some more news for them, sir. They're begging for mercy, but I have more news for them. Because there are really two discussions here today. One is about government's objectives in relation to housing. And the other discussion, and more significant discussion, is the removal of lands from agriculture to place them under concrete. Under concrete means that agriculture is permanently dead. Permanently dead. So don't take me back to 2016, because if you do, I will repeat that there is no greater nobility in the educational enterprise. There is no greater nobility than in the educational enterprise. That is how I should have said it. But let us come to the removal of these lands out of agriculture. The central bank recently reported that agriculture in this country is 3% of GDP. We come here as legislators, and there's a sense in which we come here as educators. And we do not come to articulate terms in their abstract, because sometimes the government likes to do that. Come with a lot of technical terms to impress the public that they're having some lofty discussion and that it is beyond the ordinary fella. All GDP, gross domestic product. That's all it means. And gross domestic product is the aggregate of goods and services in this economy. All goods and services, gross domestic product. You know, sir, I quote one economist who says that it is horrendous that agriculture in this country, by the central bank's admission, is now 3% of gross domestic product. In other words, all the goods and services that exist in this economy, agriculture only amounts to 3% in this country. In this country that is struggling to feed itself. This government has an agriculture minister that a few weeks ago went on his hands and knees begging a producer to take 8 cents off an egg. And you know, that honorable minister may have felt that the people in Barbados were impressed by the fact that he was begging a producer to take 8 cents off an egg. I suspect he wanted to be congratulated for that. But the converse of that was the crisis that existed in agriculture. Such a severe crisis that a minister, an honorable minister, has to go to a producer and beg. I don't know if he was on his hands and knees, but he came out seeking applause. Oh man, I got 8 cents off the egg. That reveals the crisis in agriculture. 3% of gross domestic product, 3% of all the goods and services that exist in this country, where we are trying to feed 300,000 people, and sometimes 320 when tourist season is at its highest, or even more in a given week. They're not all here at the same time. And in this country, so densely populated, we can only tell the world that we have 3% agriculture. And you have a government In that context, in these circumstances, in this environment, they like the word climate, in this climate. Finding itself only dedicating 3% of its agriculture to the gross domestic product. That is a crisis. And I don't know if you can find any economist, including the economists in here, who will say that that is not a crisis. The economists in this country and beyond will be unanimous in their view that this country is in the grips of a crisis, and that crisis relates itself to low agricultural output. Has it ever been this low in the history of this country? Have we ever had a crisis in which our staple, the sweet potato, is unavailable? And when it becomes available, it is half the size of the usual size that we know? That the sweet potatoes now look like Eddos? And there's always an excuse. There's always an excuse by this government for the wrong that is happening in this country. I referred previously to government's most often repeated poem. And every crisis in this country became subject to the excuse that we had Hurricane Elsa and the dust storm and 5,000 bolts of lightning. Every speech by every government member, front bench that is, has been over the last 6 years characterized by this grand excuse that every problem in this country is unrelated to government's incompetence and related only to a dust storm and a Hurricane Elsa and 5,000 bolts of lightning. I say the fourth one is hurricane government. Hurricane government. The government's incompetence. And a member got up a few minutes ago to complain that he doesn't want this government to be described as corrupt. An honorable member got up a few minutes ago to complain that he doesn't want the government to be described as corrupt. But I know, sir, that we live in a country where agriculture is in crisis. We live in a country in which this government is doing absolutely nothing to solve the crisis, to resolve the crisis in agriculture. And what this government is doing today is exacerbating the crisis in agriculture by removing further lands in the amounts of 18 acres to put down cement. Where is the Minister of Agriculture today? What can he say in relation to yet another removal of agricultural land permanently out of agricultural produce? 18 acres. 18 acres. Y'all can grumble as much as you want. I'm on my feet. And you can't come across here and push me down. You may shoot me with your words. That's another poem. I think that's the women's anthem, so I probably am not entitled to it. Shoot me with your words. I am. Honorable member, I can quote it. Good. You're the poet among them. All poetry is free. That is one of them who he's not like the one from the honorable member from St. Lucie. I heard your eulogy yesterday, by the way. Very good, very revealing. Very revealing, honorable member for St. Thomas. Nevertheless, sir, the people of this country must now be made aware that this government is making no effort to resolve the crisis in agriculture, to resolve a crisis in which 3% of the gross domestic product is agriculture. And I'm, beg your pardon, sir?
Honorable, just lower the decibels.
Lower the decibels. You see, I'm trying to talk over them.
No,
Listen to the honorable member for St. Thomas.
Her mic is not on. Honorable, just lower the decibels.
But I'm trying to speak over the honorable member for St. Thomas. You see, please stop making me shout, honorable member. Please stop interrupting me.
Honorable St. Thomas.
Turn
I
it
think
on.
that vessels make the most noise.
I remember question yourself.
So that the honorable member for St. Thomas is now telling you that her noises were not words. But they're gone again. Oh, I am so happy that the people of Barbados are hearing this. That all your humble servant, the leader of the opposition, is trying to do is to tell the people the truth. That's all I'm trying to do. Let the people hear the truth. Let the people hear that agriculture in this country has fallen to 3% of gross domestic product, and it matters not to me who in here is embarrassed. Whether he's the representative for St. Philip South or any other of the honorable members who are interrupting me. And if the government is in collective embarrassment, so be it. And in their collective embarrassment, I will now tell them what is an acceptable percentage of gross domestic product insofar as it is related to agriculture. Keep quiet and learn. Learn something, honorable members. Learn. I'm going to teach you now. Go quiet. And I'm saying to this government through you, sir, that the dangerous decline of agriculture needs to be arrested, and it ought to return to 5% at the very least. 5%. Tell them, teach them. Come in here with all these buzzwords every week. Not a speech is made unless they talk about resilient and sustainable and another one.
Honorable St. James South.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm not wanting to cause my honorable colleague to stumble in flight, but I'm concerned that there are young people who listen to what we say in here. And it is important to understand and recognize that when an economy grows, the percentage shares will shift. The question is there enough food for Barbadians? And I believe that what we are seeking to do is to ensure that we're able to overcome the challenges of the climate change that has been affecting agriculture and ensure that there's food for Barbadians. But the percentage share of agriculture will shift based on the economic growth in your other sectors, just so that he's aware that there's no magic number.
Continue, honorable member.
That is not my official response to the point of order, but I cannot control that response to the latest point of whatever it was, elucidation, clarification, order, I don't know. Tempted as I am to engage with the honorable member for St. James South on these matters, I will resist that temptation and go back to matters of substance. You hear? Your word is civility. Every sentence I begin, Your Honor, I cannot practice judicial deafness in the face of discourtesy. And as Bajan said, bad manners. You hear them, sir? Well, if you don't hear them, I am hearing them. Please.
Honorable member, continue, please.
Please control them. Oh yes. Oh yes. Am I allowed to repeat, sir, that the honorable member for St. Philip South and the esteemed Minister of Agriculture just entered the chamber and shouted that he has come to help me. And by that he means that he is not relying on his colleague, the honorable member for St. James South, that he is the one who would take up this fight. Our bellicose colleague has now come to rescue the debate from government's incompetent hands. He has information. But his colleague, in her most recent intervention, said that climate change is killing agriculture in this country. Not her precise words, but she did say that climate change has the honorable member for St. Philip South in peril, and that he cannot get anything done in agriculture because there's something out there called climate.
Honorable member, please. You understand the rules succinctly. You know that even without any voice from this side, that one ought to speak the truth within the confines of this chamber as long as I'm sitting here, and ought not to say things that were not uttered by the honorable member, and even so that honorable member is even not present. Please abide by the rules, and do not wait for members on this side having to jump up. Continue, honorable member.
The honorable member for St. James South uttered the words climate change. And while I'm not quoting that honorable member precisely, the honorable member attributed the decline in agriculture to climate change. That's a matter of record.
Well, with the greatest respect,
Again.
the honorable
The
honorable leader of opposition is misleading the chamber. The honorable member for St. James South never said there was a decline in agriculture. She pointed out to the member who seemed intent on misleading himself and everybody else who was listening that the ratios are not static. As one increases, then the other will appear to decrease by virtue of the ratio, but not in absolute terms. So if the economy is growing and is taking a larger share of GDP, then necessarily the percentage of all the others must shrink. The honorable member seems intent, sir, in drawing out objections from this side, maybe to bolster the fact that he's actually not saying anything constructive from that side, but he cannot, sir, mislead the chamber.
Once again, please forgive me, sir, for being provoked to laughter. Please forgive me.
honorable member, continue, please.
It is perhaps a natural human reaction when one hears a good joke. One hears what they think is logic, but one hears the illogic. And I understand the point. The honorable member for Christchurch East now joins the honorable member for St. James South in illogic. And I understand them to be saying to this parliament and to the people of Barbados, who are intelligent, that the larger economy has grown and agriculture, in keeping apace with that growth, or otherwise, will appear at its percentage level because the rest of the economy has grown. And perhaps I'm going to help them to explain even their logic, and that it appears not to have grown because the rest of the economy has grown, and the growth in agriculture, I'm helping them, the growth in agriculture is perhaps not keeping a pace with the percentage growth in the entire economy, and therefore it appears that there is no growth. I am going to introduce the honorable member for St. James South, joined by her honorable colleague and member for Christchurch East, with a visit that they need to make to the central bank report, in which the central bank report has indicated that agriculture has declined. So don't come in here with these illogical arguments to fool people. Agriculture is in crisis. And the report of the governor of the central bank confirms that it has disclosed it. I repeat, the central bank report has disclosed that there has been a decline in agriculture, so don't come with any fancy footwork.
With the greatest respect, sir, the honorable member is again misleading this chamber. The honorable member is pointing to a central bank report.
Yes.
Right? And he's using that as the basis for his claim. I have no difficulty with him using that for the basis of his claim. He cannot put words into the mouth of a member who spoke, saying that they said something they did not say, and no attempt at explaining around that allows him to mislead the public, because it has repercussions for the honorable member. Sir, the bottom line, while we have a privilege in here, while we have a privilege and an immunity from what we say in here, it is not something to be lightly used or abused, and it cannot be used to misquote the words of another member who spoke well on their feet.
Not sure I'm understanding that latest intervention, but I will say in plain and simple language, and remain faithful to that plain and simple language of the central bank, that agriculture in this country has declined. And if the honorable members are trying to tell the people of Barbados that what appears to be decline is not decline because it is within the context of larger growth in the larger economy, I say again, that is illogical, and I point the honorable members to the report of the governor of the central bank, which said report has told this country that agriculture has declined. That is a matter of fact. That is a matter of fact. And I repeat, that credible economists will become unanimous in a statement that no percentage of agricultural production within this economy should be at 3%. That it should, in its very lowest, be 5%. But you know, to move from 3 to 5 is difficult. And it is made all the more difficult by this government's inattention to agriculture. We have spent the last year, and not only us, but the economists in this country, in this region, in this world, have spent the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years pleading with this government to diversify this economy. Government has refused. Government has had a singular focus on tourism. And while tourism deserves attention, so also does agriculture deserve attention. And if there's any growth in the tourism sector, that is applauded. But what the people of this country cannot applaud is the decline in agriculture. I say there's a decline in agriculture. Not because I'm the author of the statement, but I am quoting a statement of highest authority when I quote the central bank of this country. And I repeat, the central bank has said that agriculture has declined. And no one can question that. And you don't have to be the author of the central bank report to know that agriculture has declined. Because this very government's very action this morning in taking 18 acres out of potential agriculture stands as evidence of the decline of agriculture. Drive around this country. Drive around this country. You want me to call the names of the locations? I won't. That are being taken out of agriculture on a daily basis. And some of them are not being taken out of agriculture. Some are being taken out of potential agriculture. Because this government has paid inattention, and I should put that differently. This government has refused to pay adequate attention to agricultural land which is idle. And you know, government refuses to transfer that agricultural land, that idle agricultural land, into active agriculture. And then sends a minister of housing to this place to formalize the transfer of idle lands, idle agricultural lands, historically, into housing, and seeks applause. Applause from whom? For permanently destroying an industry, to the embarrassment of the honorable member for St. Philip South, who now presides over the worst period in agriculture in this country. That the honorable member for St. Philip South has nothing now to point at as success in agriculture. Nothing. Nothing. You want the evidence, Your Honor? But let me give the evidence. This government told the people of this country that it was embarking on a marijuana project. This government told the people of this country that it was embarking on a marijuana project. And it committed several acres of agricultural land to a marijuana project. Tell the people of this country how many blades of marijuana you've grown. Tell them. I beg your pardon, sir. I beg your pardon. How many blades of marijuana? I don't know. It comes in blades or leaves. I don't know. I don't know. I don't eat it, drink it, smoke it, nor swallow it. I'm a neophyte. But how many plants of marijuana has this government grown? Having committed acres, having spent over $20 million in an office with a CEO, a secretary, a sleeping chief of security. Well, everybody in there is sleeping because there's nothing to do. I think they have a transistor radio to listen to the calling programs. This government has established an office dealing with medicinal marijuana, saying that it intended to establish a marijuana industry. This government over the last 4 or 5 years has spent millions of dollars, and I am going to give a figure. Let any of them in here get it now. On a point of something. And tell the people of Barbados that this government has not spent at least $20 million on a medicinal marijuana industry that remains non-existent. So when I say that the honorable member for St. Philip South and the Minister of Agriculture has presided over failure, I say that on the basis of the evidence. And you're going to push me further. You're going to push me to disclose to the people of this country what has become of the lands that were originally intended and dedicated to the growth of marijuana. Don't push me. Don't push me. I am about to say it. If I hear one word, I'm going to say it. If I hear one word, I'm going to say it. They're frightened. They're frightened. They're frightened. They're frightened. You know, I actually like some of them, so I don't want to treat them badly. But if I hear them,
But I remember earlier you had complained about intervention. I know you were speaking to them, encourage them to intervene. Continue, I remember.
all of them are not bad, you know. And I'm trying to save the ones I like. We are all Christians, and we don't bring to this job feelings of hatred. We come here with love for God. And 1 John 14:20 reminds us that we cannot claim to love God unless we love our fellow man. And I have found it possible to love some of these people who are my colleagues. Christian love. But it does not stop me from telling Barbadians the truth. And it is out of love for some of them that I will not bring them to further embarrassment. And tell Barbadians what has happened to the marijuana project. And tell Barbadians what plans are being made for the lands that were previously dedicated to marijuana production. Honorable Member for St. Philip South wants me to say. Does he want me to say, sir? No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Christian love, my friend.
I remember speaking to the chamber and not to
Yes.
the army for
Yes.
St. Philip South.
That is the nature of Christian love. But if he pushes me, because, Your Honor, that there are lands in this country, I'm going to repeat so that the people of Barbados understand, there are lands in this country by design through the medicinal marijuana industry supervised by government, which were designated for the growth of marijuana. Yes, I repeat, there are tracts of land which were originally designated for the growth of marijuana under the medicinal marijuana project. And I'm about to tell the people of Barbados what is the latest on those lands and what are the latest plans.
Mr. Speaker, on a point of order.
I remember St. Philip South.
Mr. Speaker, I regret that I have to rise on a point of order.
What's the point of order, I remember?
Point of order, sir, is that the Honorable Leader of the Opposition is misleading the Chamber by suggesting that there were tracts of land that were identified by this government for planting marijuana. I challenge him to say where those lands are, and he has not done so. So he continues to mislead the South and to mislead the public into believing he has information which he's not sharing.
I remember Chris, yourself, continue, please.
It is because of love in my heart. You hate me for loving. And I know. No, it's not, never, not between us. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. And I feel sorry for you.
I remember speaking to the chamber and not towards honorary members, please.
I'm obliged to you, sir. The honorable member is in trouble. He knows it and I know it. I can see the look on his face. And he knows, the honorable member knows that he would not have supervised an industry for the growth of marijuana unless he, the honorable member, had identified lands for the growth of marijuana. That is common sense. You don't plan to grow marijuana on Broad Street. When that project was conceived, Your Honor, to the honorable member, through you, sir, when that project was conceived, the Ministry of Agriculture designated specific tracts of land for the growth of marijuana. And not only did the ministry do that, they're telling keep quiet. I'm watching you, you know. Not only did the ministry do that, but another ministry entered into negotiations with persons who were intended to become producers of medical marijuana. And specific areas of land were identified. Now, if the honorable member for St. Philip South wants to deny that, I will sit and let him deny it. I will let him deny that no specific tract of land was designated for the growth of marijuana. I'm ready to sit and I will stand, I will stay on my feet because the honorable member cannot deny that. He cannot deny it. And I am giving him a chance now to deny it.
Mr. Speaker, I rise again on a point of order.
Honorable President Philip
The
South.
honorable member continues to mislead the chamber. The government and my ministry was never involved in designating land for the growth of marijuana. The government, in fact, is not involved in the growth of marijuana. The government is involved in facilitating licenses for private sector engagement in the industry.
I'm obliged, sir. We are making headway. By this dialectical process of assertion, denial, we are reaching the synthesis of agreement that government had plans, private investors were engaged, and the only thing that is stopping us from reaching the synthesis of agreement is that the honorable member now denies that there are specific lands designated. I am saying that there are specific lands designated. I will go further and help him, the honorable member, that you really can't convince the people of Barbados that government set up an office with a CEO. Incidentally, fired her and made her a minister. Fired her and made her a minister. Replaced her with a former senator. Paid them thousands of dollars a month in the sum of, I will save you some embarrassment. I will not tell the people of Barbados how much taxpayers' money those two CEOs were paid for doing nothing. Why are we sending people down in gullies to break their back? For small amounts of money. Two CEOs who did nothing, absolutely nothing. I'm not going to embarrass them by telling the people of Barbados how much they receive every month for doing nothing. You see, somebody could begin to believe that this government is not an unkind government. Somebody can begin to believe that this is not a government that treats fisherfolk unkindly in one ministry, and in the same ministry, it pays two inactive CEOs thousands of dollars a month. And this government came in here last year boasting, oh, we gave the fisher folk $3 million. Tell the people of this country how much this government paid to inactive CEOs of the medicinal marijuana industry. And when I say inactive, they did absolutely nothing except listen to calling programs by a window. And the second one, she's a Facebook expert. And a chief of security. You had a chief of security in a building and a watchman watching the fields. And then at lunchtime, everybody come and listen to the calling program because there ain't nothing to do. But the honorable member for St. Philip South wants the people of this country to believe that the government advanced a project to the point where they set up a medicinal marijuana office and did not have lands identified for the growth of marijuana. That is what this Minister of Agriculture is now trying to tell Barbadians. Is this government so inept that you set up an office to supervise an industry, a marijuana industry?
Honourable member.
Beg your pardon, sir.
Yeah, your decibels.
Let me move back from the microphone.
Do that. I would appreciate
When
that
the
very
truth
much.
come in, man, it comes
Yep, yes, but
in great volume.
Honourable member, control yourself.
Yes.
Control the passion.
Yes, yes. Yes. Let me back off from this microphone. Beg your pardon? Do what?
Honourable member, speak to the chamber and not towards members on the other side. I am warning you. Do not speak to the chamber, not to.
You see,
You ain't saying nothing. No.
He's calling at me. He's
It is
calling
not
out
what
at
you
me.
see. This is the ruling from the chair.
But he's not. Yes.
Concern yourself with speaking to the
the
public
chair. Yes,
and
sir.
the chair and not the individual members on that
Yes, sir.
side.
He is not without some personal charm and a sense of humor. When I said, let me back off from the microphone, he told me,
Go up there.
back to you.
I saw that also.
you know, he's not without some charm. I mean, I give him that. He hasn't come here this morning and told the truth, but he does have a little charm, you know. And I applaud him for it. But his colleague to his right has to convince the people of Barbados that an industry, an office existed in Nubibus. Where are the lawyers? In Nubibus. There's a lawyer next to you, honorable member for St. Philip South, and you, sir. This government set up a whole office and paid executives X amount. I'm going to say it later in the year. And now they're close to $20 million. And cannot give a fish vendor who feeding them, all of them, I don't know if you eat fish, sir.
Are you sure you want to say them and not us? All I remember? You sure you want to say them
I'm dealing with
and
them
not
first.
us, member?
I'm dealing with them first.
Just for clarity. Continue, our member.
Feeding them fish. And the ingratitude of this government that they can only give the fishing industry $3 million in the aftermath of a disaster, part of it they're responsible for. I'm not backing off from that. It's a legal position I take. $3 million they paid to the victims of a disaster. Part natural, part government. You both their hand right in that confined space, but we move on. $3 million. Ask this government how much they have paid to those persons working in the medicinal marijuana industry who have done nothing for the last 6 years. Absolutely nothing except turn on a transistor radio and guffaw when they hear the calling programs attacking us. And they come in here to tell people that the agriculture industry has not declined. Medicinal marijuana, my friends, is an agricultural industry. And its failure is evidence in part of the decline in agriculture. And this is a favorite topic of the honorable member for Christchurch East. He thinks it's a joke. He thinks it's a joke that this government was snatching people's sheep in the middle of the night and sending them to Guyana. Not one accounted for. Not one accounted for. A member of parliament from Guyana came here and said that they had never seen one of the sheep dead or eaten. Dead or eaten. This government took up, I don't call names of people who are not in here. This government took up a gentleman and sent him to Guyana to count the sheep. Put him on a liat. They are not without some charm. They are not without some charm. So it is difficult not to love some of them. And I confess that I do. But this government sent a man to Guyana to count sheep. In an age where you have phones and Sir, they laughing, I laughing. What's wrong with you, sir?
You are entertaining them and then complaining to the chair.
But I'm hearing them, sir.
Complaining to the chair all the time.
I'm hearing them.
You are complaining.
But we are all laughing, sir. That is their invitation to you to laugh too.
What I'm saying, if you don't complain, then you don't complain. So don't complain once and then entertain, and you're with them.
I'm very serious though, sir.
So your complaints will soon fall on deaf ears.
This government owes the people of Barbados an explanation as to where the sheep have gone.
Sir,
Honourable members,
Sir.
Vice Chair East.
let me start on what the point of order is.
Yes, please.
This is a serious misrepresentation to everybody who is listening. First of all, sir, allow me to say that I cannot understand what the honorable member's fixation is with these sheep. I thought that the last time we addressed this, he would probably never ever mention the word sheep in this chamber. I would probably defer to some other innocuous term like woolly mammal. Sir, we stood in here at the instance of the honorable leader of the opposition, explained exactly how many sheep went, how many sheep were alive. A whole Minister of Agriculture from Guyana was on CBC, heralding the success of the program, accounting for the sheep. Sir, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, in a statement in here, detailed every which sheep that went. Obviously, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition is searching for a particular sheep. And sir, maybe if he can just tell us, I gave him the opportunity before, if he can just tell us which particular sheep has attracted his interest, maybe we can find that sheep and bring it back. And then we won't have to deal with this again. But to stand here and say that we purported to ship off sheep to Guyana, the sheep never got there. There's no accounting for the sheep. Where have the sheep gone? Again, here. Sir, that I tried. So I tried. I let him go. I tried. He once again engaged comment from this side and I said nothing because I didn't want to go there again. But sir, that is not even just a misrepresentation, sir. That is dishonorable of the chamber and against probably everything in here that we stand for, because that was fully ventilated to his great embarrassment. Sir, I ask him to withdraw those, or at least that those comments be struck. We have dealt with this in here. It was provided from the floor. It is public. The Minister of Agriculture in Ghana has addressed it. Sir, that now is contemptuous behavior in this chamber.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture in Guyana has no status nor standing in this chamber, nor even in this country.
Sir, with respect, sir, once again for the misrepresentation, it is not that he has no status in here. He can't come here and stand up in here to defend himself. so we have to do it on his behalf. The honorable member said that the Minister of Agriculture in Ghana cannot account for the sheep. He made representations, sir, that would impugn the character of the Honorable Minister of Ghana based on what he said on our national television. He cannot now default, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition cannot now default to say we can't address comments from the Honorable Minister from Ghana because he has no standing here. The Honorable Leader of the Opposition is the person who invoked it. He brought it up, he attributed statements, he cast a whole program into disrepute, and is now saying that we can't speak on behalf of somebody who he has effectively defamed in this chamber.
I remember your point of order is noted.
I'm obliged to you, sir. All the honorable member has to do is to tell the people of Barbados, including the victims who were sheep farmers. I didn't say victims of theft, but victims of deprivation of their stock. All the honorable member has to do is to tell the people of this.
Sir, I do not know why he is persistent. You actually ruled just now, saying words like deprivation, not theft, but deprivation of their stock. Those sheep were purchased pursuant to a program. Every farmer who supplied the sheep was paid in full for the sheep. It was a transaction to the benefit of the farmers. Sir, anybody who, at some point in time, we have to protect the integrity of this house, sir. Anybody who is listening now must wonder exactly what is going on in that house. I do not understand the honorable member's preoccupation with sheep. Be preoccupied with constituents. Be preoccupied with Barbados, left out the sheep.
Point noted. I remember questions. I remember perhaps you can slant your discourse in relation to the resolution that was brought by the honourable member for St. George. So,
and the subject, Your Honour, is that of agriculture. And the population of sheep relates itself directly to the question of agriculture. And all we are asking, yes, I'm pausing for the interruptions again.
You're, honourable member, you're actually pausing now? You're actually pausing now, honourable member, having engaged them continuously. All of a sudden you are pausing.
All right.
Continue, honourable member.
I'm in the arena, sir. I'm in the arena. All I would like the honourable members, any of them, or all of them, to do, on the subject of agriculture, tell the people of this country what that sheep sale, he insisted it wasn't theft of sheep. Tell the people of Barbados why they took up the black belly, and it is no joke. Why this government took up the black belly sheep and sent them to Guyana. You know, this country has not had an explanation as yet what that program is about. This country, I don't mind the interruptions, even by way of point of order. But the people of Barbados don't know why the sheep were sent to Guyana. And this is the opportunity for the Minister of Agriculture, not the member for Christchurch East who knows nothing about what he's speaking. This is an opportunity for the Minister of Agriculture in a debate about agriculture to tell the people of Barbados why the sheep were grabbed and sent to Guyana.
But honourable member, I think a resolution that was led off dealt with housing and land acquisition.
Yes.
Hold on. Not agriculture.
Indeed.
Notwithstanding that agriculture might end up being a component, but I believe that a resolution that was brought here this morning dealt with land acquisition.
Yes.
Continue, I remember.
And I am obliged to you, sir. And I see. And we are making the point that it is wrong at a time like this to commit agricultural lands to housing. And so, Your Honor, I reserve the right to comment both on housing and on agriculture. And I am saying that this government has manhandled, mishandled agriculture. And evidence of that is contained in this resolution today, that we have good agricultural lands in Searles. Good agricultural lands in Searles that are by this resolution today intended to permanently deprive agriculture of those lands. And in addition to that, we are saying that the black belly sheep population is not a joke. The black belly sheep population is a part of our agriculture and an important part of our agriculture. And being so important, this government has failed and neglected to tell the people of Barbados what that project is about. We don't have to hear from any Minister of Agriculture in Guyana. He doesn't have any standing here. We don't have to wait to hear CBC. The Minister of Agriculture is in here. Let him get to his feet now and tell the people of Barbados what the black belly sheep. Cool down. Cool down. Cool down. Cool down. I smile, you know. I smile. You're very high strung. So when you get up intending to tell the truth, in spite of the gentleman to your left who's trying to bail you out, tell the people of Barbados how many sheep you saved, how many living, who eat them, how many died from rotten hooves, what did the gentleman, whose name I shall not call, who was sent to Guyana to count them, and came back and did not report to this government. And if he reported to this government has not reported to the people of Barbados what happened to the sheep. The people in Barbados were told that close to 1,000 sheep were sent to Guyana, and they do not to this day know how many are alive. They do not know if in the watery grounds of Guyana the hooves of the sheep rotted and caused their deaths. And those sheep would have been alive and well in Barbados. We are not running out of space to accommodate the sheep. Yes, console him. Console him. You're meeting, sir. You're meeting some very agitated government benches. And I will not move from what I'm saying, that this government is destroying agriculture in this country. And all these interruptions began when the other side got up to say, led off by the Honourable Member for St. James South, supported by the Honourable Member for Christchurch East, that agriculture has not contracted because the larger economy has grown, and therefore the growth in agriculture has been concealed or disguised by that larger growth. And I told them that the governor of the central bank said differently. He said that agriculture had declined. And I told them what the economists, the credible economists in this country are saying, that as a percentage of gross domestic product, a credible agriculture industry must be no less than 5%. That is the argument. And I'm saying that this government is doing injury to the agricultural sector in this country by its various indiscretions. And I'm saying the export of our black belly sheep to Guyana is a part of that mismanagement, a part of that malmanagement that has resulted in the decline of agriculture. Agriculture is not only about plants, agriculture is also about animals. And it stands to reason, honourable members, through you, Your Honour, that if you take up a substantial portion of the sheep population that, my friends, constitutes decline. So that the decline is not only in relation to produce, fruits and vegetables, and ground provisions, the removal of sheep from this country.
I remember you've looked at the resolution, you've read the resolution, and
the resolution takes...
It speaks to vesting.
Vesting, yes, vesting.
I just want to be certain that you have read the resolution.
Vesting former agricultural lands for the purpose of housing. Permit me, Your Honor, in your liberal dispensation, to deal with both housing and agriculture. You are a liberal speaker, you are a fair speaker. And your legacy will be that you were a good speaker. And being a fair, liberal, and good speaker, you will allow me to debate all aspects of this resolution. And I began by speaking of the vesting of lands for housing. And I spoke of the immorality of housing that is less concerned with housing poor people and more concerned with further enfranchising those who have much. I spoke of the immorality of that. And I spoke of the wrong in having planned a medicinal marijuana industry, having spent $20 million on staff. The staff has not perspired in 6 years. The staff of the medicinal marijuana office have not perspired in 6 years while in that office. They may have drooled from sleeping, but they've done nothing. And they've received over $20 million. And the fisher folk can't get more than 3. And the fish vendors have been promised $1,500 for 1 month. You think I'm leaving it? I'm not leaving it. You may not like the fish vendors. You may think that they're beneath you. You may well think so. But if government made a promise to the boat owners to pay them $1,500 a month for 6 months, wow, that's no big figure. And if government made a promise to the fishermen to pay them $1,500 for 6 months, further to our agitations, they increased it. Why can't they pay the fish vendors? We're on the subject of agriculture, sir. More than the single payment of $1,500. You know what it is? Divide and rule. The government is more interested in fracturing the solidarity that exists among the fisher folk than it is in bringing justice to their lives. And this scheme, you know, the thing about me, I can laugh, you know. And that's a good joke, by the way. Excellent joke. Excellent joke. But you're not coming back. I'm coming back. It is a good joke, though. Government, in its decision to pay the fisher folk, some of them, the boat owners and the fishermen, 6 months, I think they say.
A point of order, Mr. Speaker.
I remember saying, Joseph.
I think the honourable member is, I suppose he wants to range far and wide, but I think I must take exception to his now getting into an area that, unless he is somehow suggesting that the vesting of land has some connection to the fishing industry, and I'm from St. George, so I would know that it doesn't. The honourable member really must stick to the subject matter of the debate.
Honourable member, I have raised that with, I'm not interrupting you. Honourable member, I'm not interrupting you. But I've also raised that with the honourable member for Christ yourself on more than one occasion. For him to strike a relevance between the vesting of land and the line that he's going down. And unless and until it might reach a stage where I may have to make here ruling in relation to his continuation on that plant or move on.
Well, and I'm only suggesting, Mr. Speaker, that
Yes.
the member should perhaps take note of these standing orders. You, of course, have the discretion
Yes.
to prohibit him from
Yeah.
continuing this.
I am very much
But
aware.
I have to say he is in breach of the standing orders, which require that the debate be relevant to the matter.
I have raised that with, I remember I have raised that with him before. I am trying to be as lenient as I can in these circumstances, right? So that if there's a continuation, then I might have to become more aggressive in relation to what he's speaking about.
I'm in your hands, Mr. Speaker.
Your Honor, I shall not take advantage of your liberal dispensation, and I am aware that there is a promised debate in here later today on maritime matters, and I will abide with you, sir, that I may well reserve that part of my debate for that matter when it comes. So I shan't take advantage of your generosity. I did describe you as fair, liberal, and good in that chair. And that continues to be my view. So let not me be heard to take advantage of you, nor even the learned Attorney General to take advantage of you. Let us be fair to you, sir. And you are not ordering it, but in gentle language, you are encouraging us along a certain path. Let us be equally magnanimous and courteous and gentle with you, sir. Let us press on, sir, in spite of the anger from across the aisle. Let us assuage their anger with debate that is linear.
You've chosen a very good word. Linear.
Linear, yes.
Not circuitous. Not circular, but linear.
Not circular.
Right.
So that let us leave the fisher folk for later in the day when I intend to chastise them. I'm going to chastise them. I'm going to flog them. And let us come back to the misuse of agricultural land in this country. Let us come back to how Hope has abused housing in this country. Let us come back to how government took $60 million and put into a project that failed. And that, they should have kept me on the fisher folk because they don't want to hear this. Let us come back to how Let us come back to how this government has snatched, not she, but snatched $60 million from the taxpayers and built an unfinished housing project. Let us come back to how this government is now hiding behind the NHC and giving the real work to Hope, because Hope is a scandal, and I charge this government here with continuing to fund Hope. I charge this government with a continuation of a contractual relationship with a company which is mired in public scandal, and that this government is hiding behind NHC, which it had abandoned and is now in shame and embarrassment crawling back to the NHC. But they're crawling back to the NHC superficially. But I charge this government with continuing its dealings, its improprietous, I say, dealings with the disgraced company. Hope is not dead. And by that I mean capital H is not dead. The hope that people had in this government to do projects which were in the interests of this country, those hopes are dead. And Hope, capital H, ought to be dead. and hope capital H ought to have been subject to the investigation that the Prime Minister wanted. But rather than do an investigation, it is a continuation of business at the expense of the taxpayers of this country. At the expense of the taxpayers of this country. This is what these land acquisitions are about. Committing millions of dollars, taxpayers' dollars, and telling the people of this country that you are building for poor people. That is not true. You're not building for any poor people. You're building large bank accounts for a few people. This has less to do with housing people and more to do with enfranchising a few. And Lancaster stands as an example, because Lancaster has been sold at a loss to government. $60 million, it has been sold. Those houses have been sold at a loss to government. Government, by the sale of those houses at market value, can never recover that $60 million, wherever it is. You know, sir, the people of Barbados want to know where the $60 million is. The people of Barbados don't have to be building contractors to know that $60 million, that it did not take $60 million to build Lancaster. Why did you look at her, sir? And so, sir, our position must be that we oppose this government's incursion into the agricultural lands of this country. We oppose government's immoral and imprudent incursions into the agricultural lands of this country, purportedly to house Barbadians, when in fact it is about business. When in fact it is about unholy business. When in fact it is about enfranchising a few. And at the end of that enfranchisement, because government is paying the bill, if those houses are to be sold at a profit, the average man in Barbados cannot afford one of those houses. And you know what is happening, sir? Housing in this country, the housing trust, is more about placing government supporters within certain constituencies of Barbados. This government is not choosing the areas based on the quality of the land, because you would expect that government would try to identify all the areas of RAB land. This government is trying to identify the areas of political land. This government has a plan and is actively in pursuit of that plan to carve out certain areas of land across Barbados, across certain constituencies, to put people in houses at below cost, below financial costs, but at great political benefit to this government. In other words, government is using housing to augment the electoralists in certain districts across Barbados. If you put a man in a house.
Mr. Speaker, I really have to get up on a point of order. The honourable member is clearly impugning the government and misleading the honourable House. I ask that he absolutely withdraw that statement. No.
I expect the honourable member would say why I should withdraw it. I am expressing an opinion. Why? Have I said that somebody stole something? I have accused the government, Your Honour, through you to the honourable member. I have accused the government of using housing logistically and strategically to build houses in certain locations for its own political benefit. That's an opinion to which I'm entitled, based on the evidence. And in so doing, in pursuing political objectives, the government is destroying the agricultural land in this country. That the government is less concerned about agriculture and more concerned about political advantage, honorable member, through you, sir. That is what I'm saying. And I don't have to do a PhD to realize that. It is there. It is obvious. And anybody who feels guilty, well, I'm sorry. Your conscience is yours. My right to speak is mine. And I am saying that anybody can see that these housing projects are so disparately located across Barbados that one must now accuse the government of having a political objective. And if you want the crude term, using housing projects to pad the electoral list in certain constituencies.
Mr. Speaker,
Honourable Gracious West.
the honourable member has again repeated the same charge with no evidence whatsoever and continues to impugn the government. I again ask the honourable member that those remarks be withdrawn and be struck from the record.
I will provide the evidence, sir. I'll provide the evidence. I didn't want to do this because it would only send them now to... No, say it through the mic. Don't quiet him. Let him say it through the mic, Attorney General. I did not think at the beginning of the year, I did not think I would meet some who are here for the first time this year. But let me press on. They took up an agricultural station in St. James. They took up an agricultural station in St. James, in an area that is traditionally
Honourable, continue, please.
I just wish he would say these things through the microphone so that the people could hear what he is confessing. I will attempt to repeat for the third time the full sentence. That this government picked up an agricultural station, as they are picking up an agricultural piece of land today, in St. James, on the belief that coastal St. James, stretching from Walmer Lodge, indeed, coastal St. James and St. Peter, on the belief that the west coast of this country, and I'm going to use plain language now, they believe that the west coast of this country never votes to their advantage. They believe that. They may be afraid that Searles, like the rest of that general political area, is leaving them. So dump some people up there, house them at below cost of the project. That's why I say it is not a financial project, it is a political project. And like Lancaster, the people are moving into houses at below cost. Because if a Lancaster house costs $300,000, the Lancaster house costs far more than $300,000 to build. And as I said earlier, the fact that they're paying carpenters now $3,000 a week to finish the bad work would indicate that the cost is even higher, and would support my contention that these are political projects. Who knows where SERS is located on the political map? Is it Christchurch East? Is it St. Philip West? Where is it within the constituency plan of Barbados that this government will benefit? Where? I heard a voice. Beg your pardon?
Mr. Speaker,
Honourable members in my kids' office.
I rise on a point of order. The honourable member is misleading this place. I appreciate that the honourable member has perhaps never requested any housing in his tenure in political life on behalf of the constituents that he represents. And I understand that he would not understand the pain and the suffering that people have who have been waiting on waiting lists for several years to receive an upgrade in their housing accommodation. I understand that he is so far removed from the realities of ordinary people that he would have to come to this place on a debate that is here to ground for the people of this country an opportunity to be able to improve their lot in life. And he would try to create a stir in the country with misinformation that in some way that we are going about the allocation of housing in this country on the basis of trying to enhance our political numbers. But in case he did not know, we already had 30 seats on 2 occasions. There's no more enhancing for this government to do. What we are doing now is trying to level the playing field because of the way in which the previous administration and the one that he now leads placed the people of this country in who wanted to get, whether it was low-income housing or middle-class housing or any housing in this country. This is not a debate of agricultural lands being taken up. All lands in Barbados were agricultural, Mr. Speaker, in case the honourable member did not know this. But if he is concerned about numbers in his constituency, or if he is concerned about numbers in his party, I want to assure you, Mr. Speaker, and assure the public that is listening, that this administration is in no way trying to augment any electoral lists. Come into St. Michael's Southeast, Mr. Speaker, tell the honourable member come, and tell the people of Golden Rock, in the Pine, in the most densely populated area of my constituency, that the project that the honourable minister and this administration is carving out for poor people in this country, acquiring through an arrangement with a private landowner to be able to develop lands in the Lower Burney area for ordinary people to own a piece of the rock, is as a result of some political augmentation? Mr. Speaker, sir, this honourable member is out of place, and I will not sit here to allow him to speak in this way towards this administration. We work every day to make sure that we right the wrongs of the last administration and to make sure that this party is able to deliver to ordinary people. But I will not allow him to mar the character of this administration. We may not always get it right, sir, but the one thing that this party is firm on is enhancing the lives of people. And the 60 million he talks about for hope, there are people in the houses. The project was always intended to make sure that you start with the people who had a ready income that could pay the public officers that he's going to want them to vote for him in another election, sir. The ordinary teachers in this country, the doctors, sir, those were the people that we started with, so that as you take up, you're not taking up money to be able to have to pay for something that you're not getting back, you know. This is the point. You have to make sure that we are able to provide housing for all levels of people. So if you don't have money coming in, Mr. Speaker, you're not able to ensure that you cater for the people who are most vulnerable. And I therefore, Mr. Speaker, beg that his comments regarding the impunity of this administration be struck from the record, not just that it is noted that he is misleading this chamber, but it is a serious allegation to make that we are in any way trying to interfere with how people vote in this country. People will vote on the basis of the record of this administration. And I assure you, Mr. Speaker, and I assure the honourable member for Christchurch South, that when the record is shown, the Barbados Labour Party's record is going to be sound as it relates to putting people in housing. I'm obliged.
I described you, Mr. Speaker, as magnanimous and liberal in your dispensation. And I did not urge you to curtail the last speech. That's not a point of order, that's a speech.
But honorable member, I am the sole
Yes.
person.
Yes.
Honorable member, just
Yes.
I am the sole person vested with that authority
Yes.
to make that pronouncement.
But with 7 members of the government.
But you are not vested with that authority, sir.
Indeed, indeed. No, I'm praising you.
But I just, honorable member,
I'm praising you.
honorable member, I really do not, honorable member, being frank, I do not need the praise. I just want to make it clear to you that I am the person who rules in this chamber on everything.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I will continue to praise you for being so liberal as to allow long speeches to be made under the guise of points of order. And the public notes that during my speech this morning, 7 honorable government ministers have risen to their feet to object. I don't know if there's a season upon us, only 3 years into this government's term, but I feel that there's some season that is upon us, and the government is afraid, and we've had 7 ministers, yes, 7, no, 6 ministers and a backbencher quarreling with the content of my speech. Well, let them continue to quarrel. The people of Barbados are hearing the truth, and I will come back to the truth, sir. And it is noteworthy that I was interrupted when I was telling the people of Barbados, through you, sir, that land acquisition and land use is related to political advantage. And I'm staying with that point, that the government is prepared to destroy agriculture in this country for the sake of partisan political advantage. In other words, place your grateful party supporters into various constituencies to bolster support in the areas that are traditionally weak. And I was asking you, sir, to consider that Searles is a part of that strategic device to strengthen government's hand politically in an area where it may find that it is traditionally weak. And whereas by the honorable member for St. George South, I beg your pardon, by his admission, that the past government was looking at a school. Yes, the past government was looking at a school, but this present government believes that it is more politically advantageous to put its supporters in that locale, in plain language, to vote for the government. That is what the Housing Trust is about, Your Honor. Through you, sir, to the honorable member. You didn't know that's what it is about? They didn't tell you? They sent you. They sent you, yes. They said, well, you did boast. He did boast that he had higher numbers than the Prime Minister.
I remember you're speaking to the chair,
yes,
in relation to a debate. You're not speaking to the member for St. George South. You're speaking to the public through me in relation to the vesting of a parcel of land.
Yes.
Continue, honorable member.
But he is crossing me to say that he had more votes than me, you, or the Prime Minister.
Honorable member, do not misquote members in this chamber.
I'm saying what he told me in another place.
It is not relevant here, is what he has said here.
That's a boast he often makes. Man, I got the most votes in here, more even than the Prime Minister. And he thinks that is some feather in his cap. What you got to say? So that, Your Honor, let it be understood that a lot of these lands should remain in agriculture. That agriculture is not separate and apart from tourism, that both must be protected. And that there is a connection, a direct connection between agriculture and tourism insofar as agricultural produce can be sold into the tourism sector. And those of us who visit the other islands and go to the hotels in the other islands, and this is a well-traveled government, not at their own expense, but at the people's expense, that if you go to Jamaica, when you're receiving breakfast at the hotel, local produce. When you're in Guyana, and you're at the hotel, local produce. This government is so decimating agriculture and disadvantaging tourism that it is difficult for the tourists to receive a local meal. And that is how this government, in hurting agriculture, is also hurting tourism and increasing our foreign exchange, I beg your pardon, and decreasing our foreign exchange reserve by having to spend money on food. The point is, Your Honor, this country is spending too much money on imported food. While this government rampages across the country, destroying agriculture. The honorable member for St. George South, who was sent here, wants to hear me say it again, that this country is falling into financial peril by having to spend too much foreign exchange on food, while that honorable member rampages across the country destroying agriculture. To put up cement, and cement is permanent. And agriculture can also be permanent. And agriculture must be tied to tourism, to literally feed tourism. But this policy, this is nothing to boast about. To come here this morning and say you're putting it in housing, 18 acres. You know the damage that is being done to this country. He knows the damage, the honorable member knows the damage that is being done to this country when every week, just before Christmas, this government came in here and acquired land right next to the tourist belt. Bullins Agricultural Station, this government took up an agricultural station where young people could have been placed there. I saw it. I drove down there and saw it. And the soil is rich. And you know why the soil is rich? Because it is right beneath an escarpment. And it is a place where soil would naturally settle. And when I went and saw the houses and saw the excavation, there was much mold, dirt at Bullins because it was an agricultural station. And the young people of this country should have been enfranchised. That land ought to have been cut up into small plots and given to the young people who are begging this government for agricultural land. Instead, this government is fortifying itself politically by making unwise investments into housing to house its supporters for political advantage. If that makes anybody uncomfortable, if that disturbs the government, I am not here to comfort a disturbed government. I am merely here, beg your pardon, sir? Tell me.
Honorable member for Christian South, speak to the chair.
Are you talking to me?
Honorable members, you speak
Let me
to
address
the
you,
chair.
Sir. Let him speak to you,
not
then, sir.
to members on the other side. And that's a ruling from the chair.
He's talking to me.
He cannot, no, he has to speak to me.
Shut him down, sir.
Honorable member, speak to this chair.
Shut him down, sir. Shut him down. Shut down, honorable member. Let the speaker run in here. And I'm making the point that Bullins Agricultural Station was the perfect location to accommodate young farmers, give them economies of scale, plots that could have been divided up so that they could manage them according to their resources, and that they could have grown produce, whether it's tomatoes, and supply the West Coast hotels. Their transportation costs would have been low. Their transportation costs would have been low. You heard the name they're calling, sir? You know, I told you earlier that these people have very great wits. Their sense of humor is really good. They don't know how to run the government, but when they crack a joke, it is well made. And I find it charming. What the people of Barbados do not find charming, though, is this government's mismanagement of this economy. And I am saying again that they ought to put some young people down in Bullins Agricultural Station under an escarpment where the soil is deep and where they could have had economies of scale to sell the food right next door, literally next door, down the hill. But this government in its wisdom takes up an agricultural station right next to a hotel, or a complement of hotels, a corridor of hotels, puts it into, I almost say cheap housing, puts it into housing.
Mr. Speaker, on a point of order, the honourable member is breaching his standing orders by being guilty of tedious repetition. Tedious repetition. And Mr. Speaker, I beg you, save us from him. Save us from him. That speech is not anything anybody should be repeating.
Point, no, sis. Point.
You're the 2-minute man.
Point, no, sis.
And so, Your Honor, every time I try to wrap up, points of order. Every time I try to wrap up. Yes. So I was saying to you that the honourable member for St. George South is typically sent here by what people want.
I remember this is the last time I will warn you not to speak across this honorable chamber to members on the other side, but to speak to the chair.
Have you ever seen a parliamentarian go mad, sir? Well, I would like the cameras to focus on the honourable member for St. George South so that the people can see how a parliamentarian goes mad. And he's right next to a doctor. Please,
Honourable member, please, honourable member, please confine your speech to the basis of the resolution that was brought here this morning by the honourable member for St. George South. Please. The rules dictate such. The rules dictate such, honourable member.
Sent as he was. The two-minute minister. The 2-minute minister, who is now infamous for leveling playing fields, came here this morning to deprive agriculture, not even embarrassed to be sitting 6 feet away from the Honourable Minister of Agriculture, who is desperate to defend his reputation as a Minister of Agriculture, who is now told by the Governor of the Central Bank that he is presiding over the worst period in agriculture in this country. He's now told that.
Honourable member, you would have said that.
Yes.
On numerous occasions.
Yes, I'm wrapping up, sir. I'm wrapping up. This is to summarize while wrapping up. Please ask them to stop interrupting me. And we therefore stand in opposition to this continued destruction of agriculture. The people of Barbados can now understand the trajectory on which this government is taking us. When you place agricultural lands under cement, they are gone forever. And Searles now adds to the list, the 18 acres list by today's resolution of lands that are permanently out of the reach of the farmers in this country. Searles adds to the list. And Your Honor, they're coming with more. This government is waging war on agriculture under the guise of providing housing for poor people. This government is waging war. I think, sir, they have been very active in their rebellion against the truth. And I detect hunger and thirst among them. I will spare them and let them go and eat. Your Honor, man, they're quarreling bad enough with each other now.
Honorable.
Yes. No, let them quarrel. Let them quarrel. I like when they're quarreling with each other. Your Honor, we stand in opposition to today's resolution on the basis we stand in opposition to this resolution on the basis that it further destroys agriculture in this country, and that it is intended to do nothing for housing. It is intended to do credit to the political fortunes of the government. It will fail because the people in this country want agriculture. There are too many of our young people who are fleeing this country, who will not get a chance to work here because of this government's policies. There's nothing infradig about agriculture. Why is this government destroying agriculture? Why? Why is this government embarrassing the Minister of Agriculture? Why is this government making life so hard for the honorable member for St. Philip South? Why can't he be allowed to go back to his constituency, I beg your pardon, and have them say to him, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant"? They cannot say it because he has presided over the decline of an industry, and the central bank governor supports that. And that is the basis, Your Honor. That is the general basis for our objection to what this government is doing against agriculture in this country, Your Honor. Those are my submissions, and I'm obliged to you. Thank you, sir.